So are we on now or not yet?
Yes, you can start.
We are, okay. Elise, you want me to start? Because actually we have a new situation. The good thing with the whole crisis is that every day it's a different situation and you have to deal with something new. So now we have a situation that our moderator has problems to join. So she's trying to connect right now. And we said, let's go, because we didn't want to make you wait. And I think you are quite a lot of participants. So
and maybe also Daniela, we are going to be the first webinar to introduce the panelists, the moderator.
Yes, so every day a new challenge, which I think is really nice. So, well, I'm Daniela Elsner from Unifrance, Executive Director Unifrance. Elise, up to you. And I think Maria Silvia just arrived. Maria Silvia, where are you?
Yes,
I am Elise Jalado, General Director of Thessaloniki Film Festival. Nice. And Maria Silvia Agata is our moderator. She's connecting now.
Yeah, I'm connecting, and
yes.
You should be seeing me. Yes, I'm here. Oh, you can't imagine how glad I am to see you after all this nice trial with the digital instruments that we're all praising so much, but somehow they managed to let me down quite often, but it must be me. I think we can start now. We have a very nice panel today. I suppose Daniela and Elise managed to introduce themselves already. So, and if not, I am very active in this audiovisual world we all like. So today the topic is premiere at festivals, and how do we cope with this new world we're in after the COVID crisis, and what does it mean festival premiere in this new situation? But because we continue our exchange of best practices, I would like you to start by explaining to us what these 3 months of lockdown, and especially these weeks of stopping lockdown, have meant to you and to your profession. And I would love to start with Daniela and see whether she can describe how this crisis has affected her work in these 3 months. Daniela, to you.
Thank you, Maria Silvia. We are very happy to see you, I assure you. So, well, first of all, just that everyone has a little bit the background. I arrived at Unifrance after more than 20 years in sales in October last year. So you can easily imagine that this new situation is not, I'm new in basically everything. So not only the situation, but also Unifrance, like every day is a new day. So which makes it maybe double challenging and at the same time double interesting, because you can invent many things and you can also make some errors, and it's not, you can still say, oh, sorry, I'm new. So it's a good thing also. I think that the most, also don't forget, Unifrance is a promotion agency for French cinema worldwide. So we are not properly organizing festivals, even though we do it for some French films, co-organizing with local institutions or embassies. And we co-work with all festivals all over the world, of course. We collaborate, we help, we bring artists, but we are not, our daily business is not only organizing festivals. So that's why also our main difficulty over the last months when the shutdown came in was just, I mean, after the, like everyone, the first week of like, this never seen thing before, coming back and saying, okay, now what are we going to do? And our first idea was, of course, because we do one online festival in January, like January to February for 1 month, that we do worldwide with feature-length films and short films. So we said we have to reactivate this online festival, which we did for 1 month with short films and feature-length films. It's specific because we have more than 10 subtitles, 10 languages available, so which makes it quite easy to go in different countries and have subtitles like Japanese subtitles, Spanish ones, etc. for each country. So this was a great success. It's still, I mean, this we had to do, of course, everyone sitting at home, but it worked very well. My new team did a great job about it. So that was the first shock and the first answer. And then we thought, okay, and I think this is something that will animate us for the whole discussion we have. The second thing was 2 words, keeping in touch and solidarity. And I think keeping in touch was the thing, like how can we talk every day to distributors, festivals, to filmmakers, to journalists, what happens in each country, what can we do, what is there something to be done, or just wait and see. And we did a lot of interviews with artists because they also had some time, so which was a good thing. Maybe even sometimes too much, but we tried to figure out that we don't get too much information. We also asked journalists to help us to actually present some films that are available in their country online. Of course, the theaters being closed, and saying which French films they would just recommend, which worked really well. And the journalists did film themselves, which is not easy. So thanks to all of them. And voilà, so keep in touch, and we offered all the information we got to our members and to our website, so also the public in general. And then we launched a series, but that was when we already knew that there was like a come out of the situation. The virtual market in Cannes was announced, Annecy was announced. So then we had like the specific strategy to say, okay, we do a roundtable every week on different topics, and we somehow try to come back to the business. So that was launched 4 weeks ago. We did 5 panels up to now. We have 2 more to come. One is a wrap-up panel in 2 weeks. So I think this was something we reconnect with the world, or we connect in a different way, but we still are here. So basically that's our main initiatives. Now that everyone is back in France, now we can be back at the office, and I asked everyone to come back. I'm actually facing new challenges because what I discover is that it's not so easy just to, it's actually complicated to just go out after 3 months of being in your own home, like just taking the subway, going back. There's also a human element that we have to take in account. So that's also a challenge. So I mention it because I think I'm grateful to my whole team because they all come back, but we have to work together still on that. So for us, well, we have, and then now, of course, we have to reshape the upcoming months, which is not so easy, but we might talk about this later. Well.
Thank you, Daniela. And now I'm going to Elise. How did you experience this first coping with the new public health requirements of the COVID crisis? How did you react from the Thessaloniki Film Festival and all the things you have done? Elise, to you.
Sorry, I forgot. It didn't start very well, actually, because we were supposed to start festival, documentary festival was supposed to start on the 5th of March. And then we decided on the 1st of March that it was impossible to have a festival in this sanitary situation. So we decided that we would switch the festival to an online festival, e-festival. And so first we switched the industry right away. So the industry was early March when everyone was still available, and it went very well. Actually, I'm not gonna tell you everything that we did, because I think that we had millions of panels about what are the industry online. And then we decided to postpone our programming until the end of May, because actually we were still hoping that we would be back in the theaters because the core of our activity is theaters. Meanwhile, we finally realized that we had to go online like everyone, and we prepared the festival online. So what I want to say is that between these 2 dates, between March and end of May, we have decided to keep in touch with the directors and the audience, because it's about, keep in touch, what Daniela was saying. So first, we program on our YouTube channel short films by very promising Greek directors, and we also curated series of film by well-known directors, worldwide directors, and also directors. 3 series of film that was on YouTube, and our YouTube channel went skyrocket. So we had all friends of the festival, of course, from Denis Côté, Radou Joudé, Ildiko Enyedi, Jazanke. We had a beautiful program, and I have to say that it was a kind of catharsis for us, for the directors, and I hope for the audience. And then we also, what we did is that, and talking about solidarity, we start a series of talks with our colleagues from other festivals, because switching the festival online is not exactly the same than having a physical edition of the festival. Online, everything is possible. So you have to draw the scheme of your new festival online. Physical festivals have rules that exist since 60 years in a way. So having these dialogues with our colleagues from Long Feature Festival and also Documentary Festival, it came out that many of us were trying to find our ways. And one of the issues that came back in the conversation was geo-blocking, because online everything is possible. Of course, everything is not possible because, we are not the only player on the field. And of course, it's not the interest of the sales agents and the right holders to be geo-blocked. But it's true that it's more possible. It used to be, geo-blocking used to be very marginal in the past, but because we were physical. And also because some festivals were doing, putting on platforms their film, their winning films, but it was quite marginal. It was something that was not shaking the whole ecosystem. So we thought, okay, if we don't geo-block, then there is no more premiere. And if there is no more premiere, then we have to go back to the DNA of a festival. A festival is an event that happens here and now. So here might be online, and now might be during 1 week, but we are addressing an audience which is expecting an event which is a kind of exclusive event. And we have a pact with this audience. We have pact with the directors, but we have an agreement with this audience. And we realize that if we erase the notion of geo-blocking, then there is no national premiere. I'm not talking about the international premiere, because international premiere, we can talk about it also later. We think that we have to smoothen, also there's very few films around. These films are stuck. So as much as possible, festivals should support films and help the films to travel. But national premiere has been one of the stone of the house since many years. And that's why we are questioning this issue. Maybe, in terms of audience building, it's very important. And maybe this notion will be completely out of fashion and will not exist in a few years. But now we have to say, hold on, let's think about what we are doing, and have a brainstorming between us, between the sales agents. So I talked with Europa International also, and with many other colleagues, to see where we are doing, because the ecosystem is very shaked. The directors, the producers, the sales agents, everyone is trying to find out what will be next. And I think that Unifrance is in the middle of chaos also of how to reinvent the career of the film. So that's why we launched a plea, which is a plea for Festival Pact, and with some colleagues from other festivals. And we invite all the festivals who are interested in signing in it. And it's on the website of our festival, on the industry page. So, and then at the end, we did the festival online, end of May, which was amazing because we had even more, 20,000 more tickets than the usual festival, physical festival, which is already sold out. So we were amazed.
Yeah. Thank you, Elisa. It was
Can
very...
I just add something, because Elise
Sure.
was very under, I don't know, like very low profile, but really, I assure you, I think the short films the festival and Elise made with all the directors about the shutdown. I mean, they all filmed somehow during lockdown, and it's very short films. It's great. It's beautifully shot. It's well made. And I really want to say bravo, because I think it's one of the most beautiful initiatives I've seen during all the lockdown. And you should really, I think they're still to be catched up on YouTube, etc. Go watch it. It's pure cinema. It's really, I think, bravo. So just one thing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll tell it to the artistic director, Orestis Andreadakis.
Indeed, I can only subscribe what Daniela is saying. I am particularly struck by one thing, Elise, you pointed out, the fact that you were able to reach a new audience, that in fact, quantitatively, this experiment, besides being qualitatively of very good level, was also a way to bring festivals to a public that normally doesn't go to festival. At the same time, this outreach, which is certainly a good thing, and can definitely allow people to be in contact with different content in a positive way. Does it really serve the purpose of giving the film the moment, the recognition, but also the economic life that a film deserves, if there is not really a premiere where people are without a mask, sharing the emotions of a real event? And what does it make a festival being a festival if the experience is not shared? And Daniela, how can you sell a film that has not been received by a public or by a critique, that has not had the buzz? How do you adapt your business, Daniela, to sell the film? How do we pay our tribute to the film and the tribute that it deserves? To Elise and Daniela.
Elise, you want to start?
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
no, yeah, you have to sign to these e-festivals. Yes, we increased our audience drastically, but it was an experiment, and also the audience was not used to it. So it's true that they wanted to see what it was, and also the tickets were free, which will not be the case in the future, because I mean, we had discussions with other festivals. It's an experiment. And I think that for the beginning, 2 clicks, it's enough for the audience to try and see. But in the future, it's not sustainable. Even if we paid, of course, the screening fee, the same price that we would pay for normal screenings. But also, you have to make a difference between documentary and long features. I think that documentaries online might be a bit more easy to sell, because most of the documentaries in festivals are not ending in theaters at the end. Having a whole festival online for long features is almost, I mean, look at Cannes. It's no red carpet, no festival. So it's almost impossible. So, or Toronto is making it, it's hybrid, but it's very, very difficult, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is, we are in the middle of the Cannes market. I think there have been positively from the feedback we get from buyers and sales agents is that actually some of the market screenings were much more attended, but this is very business orientated, of course, or not festival, were much more attended than any live market screening would have been. So there are new people that we reach, not only in festivals, also in the market. There is also, strangely, there are films that create the buzz. Don't ask me how, but it works. So so actually, for me, it's good news, because that means that films, when they are strong, films when they are touching people, films when they are when you watch them, you feel like a big emotion, you come out and you still feel that you want to do something with the film or for the film. I think it's good news. That means that this has come back, or never stopped, actually. But the difficulties is, how can you indeed say, like Elise said, what is the this virtual premiere? How can a director, how can a film team, how can you live through that? Because it's not, I think there is a sort of, we all agree on that magic moment for every filmmaker and producer in a first world screening, in a theater, in a festival, when the film stops and there's this moment of maybe silence, maybe applauding, maybe, you know, you feel this emotion in the theater. I think it's, you make a film, it's once in your life, because I mean, because you have it several times after, hopefully, with your film, but the first time is the strongest one. And I think this kind of emotion, you will, it's impossible, you can't feel it. No, so now we have to work with it, and I think we work around, and this hybrid situation of Toronto is something we also have to, I'm thinking, how can we recreate a physical sensation of a cinema being in France and connecting with the public in Toronto? I try to find technical solutions to be there somehow with our filmmakers if they present a film in Toronto. I don't know if this is going to work. We have to think out of the radar. What we did and what we had great experience, we had for one animation film called Joseph by Aurel, we did a live Facebook painting. He explained, he painted live on Facebook, which I think is very emotional, and it does something, but it doesn't replace. But there are also new ways I think we have to reinvent ourselves, which is not easier, and we have to go out of the usual tracks. So I think this is one of the most challenging things. And I think festivals, I really would like to stress also that what Elise just said, geo-block, it's very important, because geo-blocking, knowing exactly who is your public, what is the notion of a premiere, I think we have to work together in so that it works smoothly and help the films. But we cannot forget that the festivals also depend on local money. They have to somehow also make a marketing of their own festival. So I have been asked many times, oh, why every festival doesn't just work together and share the films? It's not as easy as that. It's also a local industry. It's also a whole environment that needs, and we just can't skip it 1 year and start the next year. So I think it's much more complex. It seems very, the word solidarity seems very easy to say. It's much more complicated to live and to make and come to reality. So I think it's very interesting what Elise and all the festivals did with the chart, because this is very important. Also saying we work together. Nevertheless, we also have all like our own difficulties, and we have also to work together, respecting the specifics of every single festival.
It brings me nicely to your point, Daniela. You made a point on the fact that when rethinking the whole, I should say, ecosystem of the audiovisual, the key word you were using were the idea of solidarity on the one hand, and the other one, keeping in touch. And I think these are the two points on which you can given the fact that you take real aspect, you need to rethink about the whole value chain, in fact. And what would be your take, Daniela and Elisa, on how this fundamental moment of the coming to life of audiovisual work, which is the public event, it's impinged? How do you see? How do you think the whole ecosystem should rethink its will it be possible? How do you see the next months after Toronto?
Me, if I can start, it's completely tailor-made. I mean, short film festival,
Elise.
documentary festival. I'm not mute? No, it's fine.
No,
You hear me? Okay. No, I'm saying it's tailor-made because each festival is evaluating in, of course, the international ecosystem, but also in its own ecosystem, in its genre. For instance, if you speak with the industry of short films, they will say, well, no, we don't need premiere. We don't want premiere. Our problem is to have the film as much as possible on every kind of screen, on online, theater, whatever, not geo-block. It's not a problem. So it's a completely different philosophy. Then you have the long features, which are aimed to end up in a theater. So, and that's the most challenging, I think. The premiere has to be physical most of the time, except if you sell the film to Netflix, and then you just withdraw the physical distribution, which is a possibility, but it's not the same job. You know, we are not platform. So we don't do this kind of job. We are, you know, it's a supply policy. It's not a demand policy, and we are not in a volume where. So it's really tailor-made. Each film has his own history, his own story, his own career, and it's difficult to draw generalities and. On how it should be and how it will be, because nobody knows what will happen in the future. So that's why when we spoke with our colleagues, we don't want to be too specific. We think that we should have some kind of moral regulation because we have to play the same game, but we should not be too specific, because otherwise we are killing diversity also and initiatives. And that we don't want. I hope I have answered your question. In few words, I had no idea what will be the future.
Yeah,
like everyone.
But Elise, I think is very interesting in Maria Silvia, because I mean, I'm talking a little bit out of our office, but we just had a huge almost fight within Unifrance. We will have next week, and I'm really very grateful to Nanni Moretti, to the Italian embassy, the French embassy in Italy, and we will do we have normally a festival with many premieres, which are normally films that are sold to Italy, so French films sold in Italy, and that's in April. So this year we didn't do it. We want to launch it next week. It's going to be 7 films distributed in an open-air cinema in Nanni Moretti's nice cinema. So now the question is, what do we do? Should we be there? Should we go there? Should we try to get a French TV saying, oh, well, great, French cinema is coming back, we do something? Or should we play low profile saying, we don't know, Italy is coming out of a crisis, we do a virtual thing? Or should we go, Desplechin is the opening film, is the first film to be screened. Monsieur Desplechin is going there. Should we be there? 2 of us, 1 of us? Is it ecologically defendable that we go? I think it's a very interesting question. And I also see that the answers are, like, we were 7 in the room to discuss, we had 7 different answers. And I think that's interesting. It's very challenging, because it makes you a little bit feel, oh my God, it's not like before. And we can't think like before. On the other hand, we don't want to say that the new future is going to be worse than, I mean, that's what some of the philosophers, French, especially some French writers, by the way, like Ulbeck, they told us on the radio that the new world will be like before, but worse. Well, I'm not this kind. I prefer to be more optimistic and say our new world will make us think, but we will come back and think over it and do new things. But I think it's very interesting that we have to question ourselves so much more than we did before. Before, we wouldn't even have had this discussion. So I'm very grateful to my team that even if we were not agreeing, that we had like a really great discussion to say what is our duty actually and the new duty. And I think, first of all, we have to replace films. We have to help the films. We have to be on, we work for the films. That's Elise for you as a festival, as for us as a promotion agency. We have to be there for the directors. We have to be useful somehow, and we have to, this useful has to be defined. As you said, Elise, we are not, it's not clear. And I think it's very uncomfortable to live with this unclearness somehow and have to think around. But on the other hand, it can also be an interesting moment of shaping new things. And that's what I said. I think we will have to combine new ways of promotion. We have to combine new ways of festivals. For me, it's not one, it's actually the same discussion of theater and platform. For me, is not either one, it's all together. So this, and that's where we come back to our famous solidarity. It's, we have to be together. We have to think together. We will make mistakes. Let's do them together also, and then say, okay, this was maybe not the best idea. But we also have to trust our artists to come with ideas. I don't know. I just talked to one filmmaker. I just saw her film. I think it's great. I told her, you also have to give us an idea of where do you see your film tomorrow? You said artists sense things in a way. That's why, Elise, your short films are so great, because they sense a moment that and they took it, and they said basically the lockdown, they said something about the lockdown very emotionally. So I think this kind of we can also trust them, but that's, for me, that's the real tricky situation. And then also, of course, we are all depending on public money, and I just say it aloud because I think it's so important. Right now, there are many producers, they didn't shoot their films, they are in a very difficult position. The distributors the same, the exhibitors the same. So we have also to reinvent something for them, because it's like financially, it's very difficult. And culture, if it wants to survive, we all know that culture needs support, and we need the support. And I also, like, we're also in a panel about Europe. I think European politicians, parliamentarians, they have also to really take this into account.
And I would like to add, because you were saying that you have to reshape everything, but the crisis is not over. The virus is circulating, and we are, we are trying to, we have the festival in November, Thessaloniki International Film Festival, and we have to apply to fund, we have to pitch the festival, we have to prepare everything, and we don't know what's going to happen in November. What we know is that the festival will be completely different from the previous one. First, because they have only very few films around, so we don't want to copy paste the festival, the previous festival, to do it a bit very small, but the same. I mean, now we are in contact with the whole industry, the Greek industry, which is suffering, trying to see what we should do for the industry this year, specifically because they are suffering. And we need to adapt and have the right answers to their needs. And also for the program. The program, we are not going to it will be completely different. So we are completely, it will be a very specific festival. And I think all my colleagues from all the festivals in the world will do the same. We cannot copy paste. We have to reinvent completely ourselves from scratch. And maybe after next year, it will be, something in between what we have experimented this year and the previous festivals. And the other thing is that all the festivals that have experienced online solutions will keep it, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really helpful. Yeah.
Before turning to the questions to the public, I just want to briefly sum up the takeaways of this discussion. I think that the most interesting part is the fact that, in fact, your creativity has made your creativity and Daniela's period yet a period of and if the takeaway is that the industry should work more together, I think that that is a positive development in any event. That probably a combination of preserving the core, the DNA of the industry, the film, and giving its attention to we're used to it. Digital technology gives us as potential. I think it's going to stay. From, if I can summarize what you both pointed out, and I also think that maybe if I hear your stories, there is a potential for more diversity in content and more larger outreach possibly. And in fact, despite everything, there is curiosity with apprehension, but with the idea that something positive and new can come out as well from this unprecedented crisis. I have a question from the public. I think for both of you. There is, for filmmakers currently making documentaries about the pandemic, is it worth to plan a proper festival to run in 2021 and to really give it a sort of attention to this kind of projects? Or would it be more advisable to aim for sales right away to leverage the current moment?
You can, I mean,
What do
sales age.
Elisa?
I think it's always good to have a festival first before the sales, because if you sell the film and then you are completely lost in the algorithm, you don't exist as a director. The film is sold, but it's too bad because we might not see it. So as you know, I'm repeating, a festival is helping to raise attention to a film, even online, because I mean, online there is press, there is audience, there is prices also, and you can pitch the film, you can market the film after and maybe sell it better, but also raise attention on your film. So I would always recommend to go for a festival first.
Yeah,
Daniela, I don't know if
Daniela,
I agree, but I think the question was very specific. If you think that there should be a festival about only about films made about the crisis, is that what I understood? Which I think, you know, I say maybe it's good to keep already our existing festivals alive and in their way to shape, and they will make the decisions to show the films they think it's worth to show in the selection. So I would trust all our existing festivals that they will be able to figure out to find solutions to show films about the situation, and they will do it with a lot of seriousness. And so I would say let's trust festivals.
Yeah, and let's hope that the pandemic is something that we're slowly moving away from, instead of taking it as a permanent status, despite all the creativity that this can have brought about. It's an interesting time. And what do you, Daniela, you spoke about the need of keeping public funding and the need of supporting the industry. As a Creative Europe program, we should take on how we should proceed in trying to accompany an adjustment that we strongly favor. Was it not for making the industry more resilient to possible new crisis, but also because we think in terms of ecosystem, that embracing in a positive and creative way the possibility of digital technology can only strengthen
I lost you on the last
European cultural world. What do you think move ahead with? And then I would like to close after this as a closing remark that we have to take over as public funding, Daniela.
Yes, I'm not sure. I didn't get all your.
Because my connection is still strange.
So now I just want, I think it's very clear that culture has to be part of the European politics, because I think, and it was very clear when we had Mr. Thierry Breton, the commissioner, speaking at the beginning of the week. I think there is something, he said a few words. He said actually ambitious. We have to be ambitious. We have to be creative. We have to be less naive. And I think there is something that I really heard out of his statement, that is, I mean, through culture, we bring people together. And I think something that for me is very important, if you are sitting in a cinema in your country and you watch a film about Denmark, I mean, not about, like coming out of Denmark, France, Germany, whatever, you are traveling to another country, you are connecting with other people, with another culture. And I think this moment of sharing an experience, you share it with other people in the room, but you share it also with, well, if it's a European film, with whole Europe somehow. And I think this kind of experience is bringing the Europeans together, and we all will agree that we need this more than ever, because it's about Europe and its future, and we know that it's not easy at this moment. And I think culture can be really bring us together in a way, in an almost like sympathetic and of course we sing, but we also laugh, we cry, we can feel something about the others that we might never understand if we just read about it in a newspaper or hear about it in a radio, like a news. So I think this kind of very important messages that can be brought, and we can be together, we have to keep up with that. And this is only possible because we need, and we are strong in Europe right now because we have this public support. So we have to continue to say aloud that we need it, that it's not a shame to be public supported. On the contrary, it's something that you bring back to your states, to your member states, and then together you can reshape a Europe that we all need in the future. Well,
thank you, Daniela. By the way, concerning culture, I have to say that without culture during quarantine, we would have died, because, okay, we were eating, but we were also eating music, books, films, series. It's just part of our daily life. It's like bread. So I think that we realized the importance of culture during the quarantine. And also concerning the public funding by Creative Europe, it's not, I mean, all these funding are going to specific programs that bring us together. I'm talking about media program, but it could be also Erasmus. We are working now on the Erasmus project with Spain and France and Germany, and every drop of these programs is about bringing us together as a, European Union, as like we are neighbors, but we are also part of the same family. So co-productions also, I mean, 1 film out of 2 in Greece is co-produced, thanks to all these directors and producers who go to EVE, to ACE and training, and it's a big okay, I'm not gonna talk about Europe, but I'm a strong believer.
No.
Without demagogy.
Okay, thank you very much, Elisa and Daniela. It has been a pleasure to talk to you despite all the technical troubles I've had, and I'm the next showcase of the Creative Europe media, and see the sector has totally come out stronger and more resistant from this crisis. And I thank you all the participants or the persons that have accompanied us in this hour. And I remind you to use the hashtag to share all your comments. We're always eager to hear what the rest of the world is thinking about European audiovisual policy. Thank you very much. And I want to close it. And again, apologies for the technical inconvenience.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.